Hello. I hope you're doing very, 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 very well. So what brings you in today? Do you have a specific question? Oh, this is general reading. Those are my favorite. I feel like when someone comes with a specific question, oftentimes the answer you get is not what you wanted or more cryptic than you wanted, and those people are more likely to leave disappointed because everyone expects life to be kind and it's not kind. Not all the time. Not usually. Not whenever the question's already bothering you. The answer is often just as unpleasant. But general readings, they can be hopeful, they can be less hopeful, and then I can sway them to seem more hopeful. Probably shouldn't tell you that, but it leaves more open for interpretation. So how is this? How about we start with a very general reading from our crystal ball here. And then, since you insisted we try the tarot, we'll do a reading on you. I do still, even though I'm a professional, I still use the book because when you start to fly by the seat of your pants and just kind of interpret it on your own, it's less correct. And since you want a general reading, I want to correctly read your cards. There's so many, hundreds of various meanings to every card that will come up. You know, and it means something completely opposite if it's upside down. So it's just reversed. Best to play by the rules. And plus I love books. And that book is very special. I thought it was a fluke. Whenever you first walked in, I saw something and I just kind of ignored it because a lot of times whenever, even in the evening when I'm walking by this ball, I'll see things and it's not connected with any one person, so sometimes I think it just fires random things, but I'm seeing it again with you. It's almost like it was eager to tell me as soon as it saw you. Now we'll get to it. It's just a little bit confusing. I don't mean to insult you. You are very finely dressed and obviously not um, hurting for money or love. But the ball keeps saying success, and I'm not sure yet if that means financial success or the even sweeter, just general life success. That might mean more to you, like if you are waiting for a big financial deal to come through at work, or you've recently fallen in love, which I don't get that feeling from you. So that's probably not it. I think you're still waiting for your person. But that'll come up too. Probably more in the cards. The ball is more general. Sorry to be handling it. It's just, on its own, it's an inanimate object, but with energy given to it, it will show us things. No, it's career. No, it's not even your career. It's some other thing besides your main source of work that you have become very interested in that is going to go very well. And not even monetarily. It's more than just you enjoying it though. Other people will notice. But the noticing isn't the success. It's the getting better at what you've been practicing. You'll have a breakthrough. Ball kind of sings to you. No, that's the main thing I'm getting. Happiness, success. Happiness, success in something that you worked hard at. Okay. Let's set the ball aside because, actually, let's turn it off because it's distracting. It's gonna keep trying to tell me things while I'm trying to talk to you about something else. Ugh, it's like a nagging friend. I love it, but it always wants to talk at the worst times. So, this is the Rider Tarot card deck. And this book was actually specifically written about this tarot card deck. So the images we see on the cards will exactly match what are on these pages. And it was written by, let's see. Also known as the Wake Tarot card deck and the Rider Waite deck. And this book is written by the person who made this deck. This book was originally published in 1910, but this copy is from 1959. has that wonderful old book smell. It has examples of each card with descriptions. And today we are going to do the most classic layout. I know there are variations when you make the cards into packets and then draw the first card out of each packet and lay them out in rows, but I don't really like that one. So we are going to do the outer method of the oracles, which is the oldest way to read them. But first, as we spend time together, I'm going to shuffle the deck for you. And think about you. And the cards will line up to exactly where they need to be for you. And we don't make them all face up. We face the same direction, because if they turn on their own, that's part of it. It's like it's split. Oh, thank you. You like my thumb ring? This was my grandfather's. It's made out of tiger's eye. Looks like a conqueror is carved into it. Yellow gold. I love it. Reminds me of him. I remember him wearing it growing up. I'm not going to say that whatever talks to us or makes us, helps us understand the future a little bit ahead of it happening, are ghosts or spirits necessarily, but I think being open to everyone who has died and being close to people who have passed on helps. It doesn't hurt. Kind of builds who we are. One more time. Help them jump around to where they need to be for you. One last bit. All right. First, we'll draw the signifier. Then, what crosses him? What crowns him or her? What is beneath him? What is behind him? What is before him? himself, his house, his hopes or fears, and what will come. All right. Two wands. Okay. The four cards. Yes, wands. Wands two. I would apologize for taking time, but if you want the correct answer, that's just what it's going to be. The four cards and wands represent very fair people with yellow or auburn hair, fair complexion, and blue eyes. You might have had a question in your head and didn't realize it. But if it's a person with yellow or auburn hair, fair complexion, and blue eyes, this is going to be your answer. What covers him? The Queen of Wands. We're just having a lot of wand cards. The wands throughout this suit are always in leaf. And as it is a suit of life and ambition, emotionally and otherwise, the Queen's personality corresponds to that of the King, but is more magnetic. A dark woman, country woman, friendly, chaste, loving, honorable. If the card beside her signifies a man, she is well disposed towards him. It's a man, so she's well disposed towards the second card in wands. Also, love of money or certain success in business. And she was not reversed, so we don't need that. Oh, so you might not be in love, but there's someone dark and chaste who loves you. Chase. What crowns him? An upside down Ace of Swords. Well, let's see what the reverse means. Swords, Ace. A hand issues from a cloud, grasping a sword, the point of which is encircled by a crown. Meanings: triumph, the excessive degree in everything, conquest, triumph of force. It is a card of great force in love as well as in hatred. The crown may carry much higher significance than comes usually within the sphere of fortune telling. Reversed, which is what we have. The same, but the results are disastrous. The other account says conception, childbirth, multiplicity, augmentation. Maybe you shouldn't love this bitch back. Just saying. Okay. What is beneath him? The hair. Beneath here. I can't pronounce this. Maybe you can. Maybe I should have went to college other than art school. I might be able to read my divination cards. The hero hand. Hey, I'm just reading the cards. I didn't put them there. That is a man? Okay. He wears the triple crown and is seated between two pillars, but they are not those of the high temple, which is guarded by the high priestess. In his left hand he holds a scepter terminating in the triple cross, and in his right hand he gives the well-known existential sign, which is called that of egosterism, distinguishing between the manifest and concealed part of doctrine. It is notable in this connection that the high priestess makes no sign. At his feet are crossed keys, and two priestly ministers in albs kneel before the Pope. Kneel before him. He has been usually called the Pope, which is a particular application in his more general office that he symbolizes. He is the ruling power of external religion, as the high priestess is the prevailing genius of the esoteric with drawn power. The proper meanings of this card have suffered woeful admixture from nearly all hands. Grand Orient says truly that has power of the keys. So what is beneath you is religion, basically. The Pope. I just read the cards, okay? All right. What is behind you? The Four of Cups. Right side up. Cups 4. A young man is seated under a tree and contemplates 3 cups set on the grass before him. An arm issuing from a cloud offers him another cup. His expression, notwithstanding, is one of discontent with his environment. Meanings: wariness, disgust, aversion, imaginary vexations, as if the wine of this world has ceased society only, has caused society only. Another wine, as if a fairy gift is now offered the minstrel, but he sees no consolation therein. So what's behind you is basically, it seems like depression. Not being able to get joy from anything. Well, that's good. Good thing that wasn't in front of me. Okay. What is before you? Justice, upside down. Let's find. The Wheel of Fortune. Okay. Justice, reversed. As this card follows the traditional symbolism and carries above all its obvious meanings, there is little to say regarding it outside of a few considerations collected in the first part, to which the reader is referred. Jesus. Okay. It will be seen, however, that the figure is seated between pillars, like the high priestess, and on this account it seems desirable to indicate the moral principle which deals unto every man according to his works, while of course it is in strict analogy with higher things, differs in its essence from the spiritual justice which is involved in the idea of election. The later brings to mysterious order of providence, in virtue of which it is impossible for certain men to conceive the idea of dedication to the highest things. The operation of this is like breaking of the spirit where it wills, and we have no canon of criticism or ground of explanation concerning it. It is analogous to the possession of the fairy gifts and the high gifts and the gracious gifts of the poet. We have them or have not, and their presence is as much as a mystery as their absence. The law of justice is not, however, involved by either alternative. In conclusion, the pillars of justice open to the world, and the pillars of the high priestess to another. Certain to conceive the idea of dedication to this is the breathing of the spirit. You know what? I don't think we read this in the reverse, because there's not a reverse reading. I think these are solid in their meanings. Alright, so religion is beneath you. I think this means kind of that you're the master of your own understanding, which I don't normally talk religion or politics in these readings, but you like to think for yourself. And you will in the future. So this says, himself. There we go, it was reversed. All right. The Nine of Swords. But he is weeping, so you are happy that it was reversed. Swords 9. One seated on her couch in lamentation with the swords over her. Lamentation. She is one who knows no sorrow, which is like unto hers. It is a card of utter desolation. Reversed. Imprisonment, suspicion, doubt, reasonable fear, shame. Reasonable fear, doubt, shame. Those aren't bad things. In moderation. So maybe in changing from the Pope card to the Free Thinker card, you are currently going through some issues, which is understandable. Okay. His house. The Devil. I didn't make it up. There you go. But the Devil's not a bad card, so let's see what it says. Just like Death isn't a bad card, it's usually Rebirth, which I'm actually surprised you didn't get Death, since you're apparently going through a large rebirth. There's a Devil. Okay. The design is an accommodation, meaning or harmony between several motives mentioned in the first part. The horned goat of Mendes, with the wings like those of a bat, is standing on an altar. At the pit of the stomach, there is a sign of Mercury. The right hand is upraised and extended, being the reverse of that benediction which is given by the Hierophant. Okay, well, we already got that. So this is, you are full of conflict. This is the reverse, the exact opposite of the what's beneath you. So maybe you're pretty definite in what you want. Okay, anyway, sorry. In the left hand, there is a great flaming torch inverted towards the earth. A reversed pentagram is on the forehead. There is a ring in front of the altar from which two chains are carried to the necks of two figures, male and female. These are analogous with those of the fifth card, as if Adam and Eve after the fall. Hero is the chain and fatality of the mortal life. Figures are tailed to signify the animal nature, but there is human intelligence in the faces, and he who is exalted above them is not to be their master forever. Even now, he is also a bondsman, sustained by the evil that is in him and bound to the liberty of service, with more than his usual desertion for the arts, which he pretended to respect and interpret as master herein. Epilus Levi affirms that the Baphometic figure is occult science and magic. Another commenter says that the divine world, it signifies predestination, but there is no correspondence. That the world, correspondence in that world with the things which below are of brute. That it does not signify is the dweller on the threshold without the mystical garden, when those are driven forth from those who have eaten the forbidden fruit. it's temporary. Oh, so it's saying your house is temporary. But also changing. Yes, temporary and changing are the same thing. We got it. We got it. Okay. 9. Your hopes or fears. The Tower, which shows a person falling from it. And it is not inverted. Let's hear what this cheery explanation is. Oh, well, it's your hopes or fears, so it could be terrible and it doesn't mean it's going to happen. Let's just find out. You know, I want to see what your hopes and fears are because you certainly haven't told me since you came in. So it's kind of like peeking. There we go. Tower. Occult explanations attached to this card. Mostly just it is idle to indicate that it depicts ruin in all its acts. Because it bears evidence on the surface, it is said further that it contains the first allusion to a material building, but I do not concede that the tower is more or less material than the pillars which we have met in 3 previous cases. I see nothing to warrant Pappus in supposing that it is literally the fall of Adam, but there is more in favor of his alternative in that it signifies the materialization of the spirit world. Biographer Christian Images that it is the downfall of the mind seeking to perpetuate the mystery of God. I agree rather with the Grand Orient that it is the ruin of the house of life when evil has prevailed therein, and above all, that it is rendering the house of doctrine. I understand that the reference is, however, to a house of falsehood. It illustrates also in the most comprehensive way the old truth that except the Lord build the house, they labor in vain that build it. There is a such sense in which the catastrophe is a reflection from the previous card, but not on the side of the symbolism which I have tried to indicate therein. One is concerned with the fall into the material and animal state, while the other signifies destruction of the intellectual state side. The tower has been spoken of as the castlement of pride and the intellect overwhelmed and the attempt to penetrate the mystery of God, but in neither case do these explanations account for the 2 persons who are the living sufferers, the people falling from the tower. The one is the literal word made void, and the other is the false interpretation. And yet, in a deeper sense, it may signify also the end of a dispension, but there is no possibility here for the consideration of the involved question. Oh, your hopes and fears are your moral downfall, which, being what all these other cards are, makes sense. Last one, the Magician, which is the same card that's on the cover of the box. Let's look at what that is. What will come is the Magician. Well, that seems there we go. The trumps major and then their inner symbolism, the Magician. A youthful figure in a robe of a magician, having the constance of design Apollo, countenance, with a smile of confidence and shining eyes above his head is the mysterious sign of the Holy Spirit. It's the infinity symbol. The sign of life, like an endless cord, forming the figure 8 in a horizontal position. About his waist is a serpentine creature, the serpent appearing to devour its own tail. This is familiar to most as a continual symbol of eternity, but here it indicates more especially the eternity of attachment in the spirit, attainment in the spirit. In the magician's right hand is a wand raised towards heaven, while the left hand is pointing towards the earth. The dual sign is known in very many high grades of the instituted mysteries. It shows the descent of grace, virtue, and light drawn from things above and diverted to things below. The suggestion throughout is therefore the possession and communication of the powers and gifts of the spirit. On the table in front of the magician are the symbols of the 4 tarot suits, signifying the elements of natural life, which lie like counters before the adept, and he adapts them as he wills. Beneath are roses and lilies, and then it has the Latin words for roses and lilies, which I'm not going to read, changed into garden flowers, to show, to sue, sow. The culture of aspiration. This card signifies the divine motive in man, reflecting God and will and the liberation of its union with that which is above. It is also the unity of individual being on all planes, and in very high sense it is thought, and the fixation thereof. With further reference to what I have called the sign of life and its connection with the number 8, it may be remembered that Christian Gnosticism speaks of rebirth in Christ as change unto the own of God. The mystic number is termed Jerusalem above, the land flowing with milk and honey, the Holy Spirit, the land of the Lord, ascending to materialism. 8 is the number of Christ. So basically, it's all the good things from heaven coming down to earth. And that is what is to come, which I think that's a positive card to stop on, because it wasn't bad. Well, I was not expecting you to have such changes going on in your mind, but that was really interesting. Thank you for letting me peer and play into your mind. Well, thank you for spending time with me. I hope that you come back in again. So, I will see you next time you have a question on your mind.